Everyone likes to win, but what most people think they have to do to be number one is to be in first place, and that's it. The only way you'll be number one is if you work hard and earn it, which is exactly the message of my speech, what it takes to be number one. My speech was given by Vince Lombardi, who is a very famous football coach and coached the Green Bay Packers. This speech's message is great because it clarifies the misconception people have about winning. Also, this speech is very special to me because it is something my grandfather valued and had framed on his wall. After hearing the speech, I hope you will realize that you have to do your best and never give up at whatever you might be doing. As long as you do that, you'll end up winning one day, and that will be the day you know hard work really does pay off. Winning is not a sometime thing. It's an all-the-time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. There is no room for second place. There's only one place in my game, and that's first place. I have finished second twice in my time in Green Bay, and I don't ever want to finish second again. There's a second place bowl game, but it is a game for losers, played by losers. It is and always has been an American zeal to be first in anything we do, and to win, and to win, and to win. Every time a football player gets to Pius Traits got to play from the ground up, from the soles of his feet right up to his head. Every instrument has to play. Some guys play with their heads. That's okay. You've got to be smart to be number one in any business. But more importantly, you've got to play with your heart, with every fiber of your body. If you're lucky to find a guy with a lot of head and a lot of heart, he's never going to come off the field second. Running a football team is no different than running any other kind of organization, an army, a political party, or a business. The principles are the same. The object is to win, to beat the other guy. Maybe that sounds hard or cruel. I don't think it is. It is a reality of life that men are competitive, and the most competitive games draw the most competitive men. That's why they are there, to compete. The object is to win, fairly, squarely, by the rules, but to win. And in truth, I've never known a man worth his salt who in the long run, deep down in his heart, didn't appreciate the grind, the discipline. There is something in good men that really yearns for the discipline and the harsh reality of head-to-head combat. I don't say these things because I believe in the brute nature of men, or that men must be brutalized to be combative. I believe in God, and I believe in human decency. But I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, his greatest fulfillment to all he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious. Though she was only 12 when she wrote the speech, she wrote as if he believes that we can all work and unite as a state and help other people, not just ourselves. She is saying we need to act as one single world towards one single goal. She is trying to make the world a better place for children to live in. I hope to communicate the fact that we need to snap out of it and realize that we are being so selfish and so needy. I chose this speech because I love how she is only 12 years old and she isn't afraid to put out her feelings. I'm here to speak for the countless animals dying across this planet because they have nowhere left to go. I'm afraid to breathe the air because I don't know what chemicals are in it. I used to go fishing in Vancouver with my dad until a few years ago we found fish full of cancers. And now we hear of plants and animals going extinct every day, vanishing forever. In my life, I have dreamt of seeing the great herds of wild animals full of jungles and rainforests full of birds and butterflies. And I'm wondering if that will even exist for my children to see. Did you have to worry about this when you're my age? All this is happening before our eyes, and yet we act as if we have all the time and all the solutions. I'm only a child and I don't have all the solutions, but I want you to realize neither do you. Here, community delegates are your governments, business people, reporters, and politicians. But really you are aunts, uncles, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and all of you are someone's child. I'm only a child, yet I know we are all part of the family. 5 billion strong, in fact 30 million species strong. And we share the same air, water, and soil. Borders and governments will never change that. In my anger, I am not blind, and in my fear, I am not afraid to show the world how I feel. Even when we have more than enough, we are afraid to listen to the world, afraid to share. 2 days ago here in Brazil, we were shocked when we spent some time with the children living on the street, and one child told us, "I wish I were rich, and if I were, I would give all the street children food, clothes, medicine, love, and affection." So if a child on the street who has nothing is willing to share, why are we who have everything still so greedy? I keep thinking that it makes a tremendous difference where you're born, but I could be one of those children. Even in kindergarten, teachers
To respect others, not to harm others, and to share, not be greedy. Then why do you go out and do all the things you tell us not to do? My parents should be able to comfort their children every night by saying, everything's going to be okay and it's not the end of the world. But I don't think you can say that to us anymore. My father always says, you are what you do, not what you say. And what you do makes me cry at night. So please, I challenge you to make your actions reflect your words.
I'm sure I'm not the only dog person here, but even if dogs are not your favorite pet, you can still find great meaning in this speech. Although George Graham Best originally meant it to promote the loyalty of dogs because of a trial against the man who killed a dog, you can look deeper to find a hidden meaning. A tribute to dogs points out that dogs are much more loyal than humans. If people were more trustworthy to each other, like dogs are to their owners, then the world would be a much better place. But cats are still pretty awesome too. Gentlemen of the jury, the best friend a man has in this world may turn against him and become his enemy. The son or daughter that he has reared with love and care may prove ungrateful. Those who are nearest and dearest to us, who we trust with our happiness and our good name, may become traitors to their faith. The money that a man has may fly away from him. He loses it perhaps when he needs it most. A man's reputation can be sacrificed in a moment of ill-considered action. The people who are prone to fall on their knees to do us honor when success is with us may be the first to throw a stone of malice when failure sells its head upon cloud upon our heads. The one absolutely unselfish friend that a man can have in this selfish world is his dog. A man's dog stands by him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and in sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground where the wintry winds blow and the snow drives fiercely, if only he may be near his master's side. He will kiss the hand that has no food to offer. He will lick the wounds and sores that come in encounters with the roughness of the world. He will guard the sleep of his pauper master as if he were a prince. When riches take wings and reputation falls to pieces, he is as constant in his love as the sun in its journey through the heavens. And if fortune drives the master forth, an outcast in the world, friendless and homeless, the dog asks no higher privilege than to accompany him, to guard him against danger, to fight against his enemies. And when the last sin of all comes, and death takes its master in its embrace, and his body is laid away in the cold ground, there by the graveside will the noble dog be found, no matter if all other friends pursue their way, head between his paws, eyes sad but alert in open watchfulness, faithful and true even in death.
Our opening hymn is number 210. Please sing the first verse.
In 1940, Winston Churchill had just taken office as Prime Minister of England. World War II was at its peak, and England was by itself in the fighting of the German Nazis. Winston Churchill led his country through this time of hardship, and he said this speech to not only say his plans of actions to the citizens of England as their leader, but also to deliver a speech about never giving up on your goals, no matter how long and hard the road is to reach them. To form an administration of this scale and complexity is a serious undertaking in itself, but it must be remembered that we are at the preliminary stage of one of the greatest battles in history, that we are in action at many other points in Norway and in Holland, that we have to be prepared in the Mediterranean, that the air battle is continuous, and that many preparations have to be made here at home. In this crisis, I hope I may be pardoned if I do not address the House at any length today. I hope my friends, colleagues, or former colleagues who are affected by the political reconstruction will make allowance, all allowance, for any lack of ceremony for which it has been necessary to act. I will say to the House As I've said to those who have joined this government, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? I can say, it is to wage war by sea, land, and air against a monstrous tyranny never surpassed in the dark, lamentable catalog of all human crime. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word. It is victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. Victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory, there is no survival. Let that be realized. No survival for the British Empire. No survival for all the British Empire stood for. No survival for the urge and impulse of the ages that mankind will move forward towards its goal. But I take up my task with buoyancy and hope. I feel sure that our cause will not be suffered to fail among men. At this time, I feel entitled to claim the aid of all. And I say, come then, let us go forward with our united strength.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself, is a quote from President Franklin Roosevelt's famous first inaugural address in 1933. During the time that he is giving this speech, there is a national crisis, the Great Depression. People have no jobs, no money, and no food. They are scared, so scared that they don't know what to do. The president's speech tells the Americans to not fear or panic, because that will make the crisis so much worse than it really is. President Roosevelt's encouragement helped get the country moving during this very difficult time in American history. I am certain that my fellow Americans expect that on my induction into the presidency, I will address them with a candor and a decision which the current situation of our people impel. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive, and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. In every dark hour of our national life, a leadership of frankness and vigor has met with that understanding and support of the people themselves, which is essential to victory. I am convinced that you will again give support to leadership in these critical days. In such a spirit on my part and on yours, we face our common difficulties. They concern, thank goodness, only material things. Values have shrunk to fantastic levels. Taxes have risen. Our ability to pay has fallen. Government of all kinds is faced by serious curtailment of income. The means of exchange are frozen in the currents of trade. The withered leaves of industrial enterprise lie on every side. Farmers find no markets for their produce. The savings of many years in thousands of families are gone. More importantly, a host of unemployed citizens face the grim problem of existence, and an equally great number toil with little return. Only a foolish optimist can deny the dark realities of the moment, but we have still much to be thankful for.
Women have been treated unfairly since the dawn of humanity, and many of them tell stories of the challenges they face.
Malala Yousafzai, the original speaker of the upcoming speech, has just one example. You see, all Malala wants is education for girls, and because she spoke for those rights, she was shot in the head by the Taliban and nearly died. But that tragic incident didn't stop her. It encouraged her to present this speech live at the United Nations. And that is why I chose this as my declaration, to inform everyone here about Malala and her incredible story, for she fought despite the dangerous risks. Today, it is an honor for me to be speaking again after a long time. Being here with such honorable people is a great moment in my life. To be honest, I don't know where to begin my speech. I don't even know what people would be expecting me to say. But first of all, thank you to God, for whom we are all equal, and thank you to every person who has prayed for my fast recovery and the new life. Dear brothers and sisters, I ask you to remember one thing. Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who've raised their voice for their rights. So here I stand, one girl among many. I speak, not for myself, but for all girls and boys. I raise up my voice, not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. Dear brothers and sisters, on the 9th of October, 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed. The terrorists thought that they would change our aims and stop our ambitions, but nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. Dear brothers and sisters, we realize the importance of light when we see darkness. We realize the importance of our voice when we are silenced. In the same way, when we were in Swat, north of Pakistan, we realized the importance of pens and books when we saw the guns. Dear brothers and sisters, the extremists are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. The power of the voice of woman frightens them. That is why there are lasting schools every day, because they were and they are afraid of change, afraid of the equality that we will bring to our society. Dear brothers and sisters, we must not forget that millions of people are suffering from poverty, injustice, and ignorance. We must not forget that millions of children are out of schools. We must not forget that our brothers and sisters are waiting for a bright, peaceful future. So let us wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism, and let us pick up our books and pens. They are our most powerful weapons.
We've all heard of Martin Luther King Jr., the guy who said the I Have a Dream speech for civil rights. Sadly, he was assassinated. But one person was chosen to convey this information to the people through a speech. That was Robert F. Kennedy. When I saw this speech, I thought it was all right, so don't expect to be entertained after the first sentence. But then I read it and came to realize how well Robert F. Kennedy handled the situation. After I read a good amount of this speech, I knew this speech would be a good speech to convey to our crowd today. I also picked this speech because even though a major figure has died, doesn't mean we have to stop the practices that he initiated. Robert F. Kennedy conveyed that to the world the best man could that evening. I have some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all our fellow citizens, the people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it is perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence, evidently, is that there were white people who were responsible. You can be filled with hatred, with bitterness, and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white people amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand, to comprehend, and to replace that violence and that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land, and to understand compassion and love. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and the mistrust of the injustice of such an act, I would only say that I can feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling, and that is that I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand and to get beyond and go beyond these rather difficult times.
The speech I'm about to deliver was first written by Marianne Williamson, but was also featured in the movie Coach Carter. This was a very inspirational movie that teaches us to never take anything for granted and to strive to be your best. Love is what we are born with. Fear is what we learn. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and prejudices and the acceptance of love back out. Love is the essential reality and our purpose on earth. To be consciously aware of it, to experience love in ourselves and others, is the meaning of life. Meaning does not lie in things, meaning lies in us. Yet, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. We all make mistakes, we all have fears, and we all have weaknesses. Behind all that is our essential self. When our essential self has made contact with another, the light is dazzling and will fill the universe. The challenge of enchantment is to stay faithful to that light when it is not so apparent. Then that light becomes an incandescent glow and wraps itself around everything.
Right now you think you can handle the inequities in life, but you are wrong. Take Bill Gates, for example. He gave this following speech to the 2007 graduating class of Harvard about how he wasn't prepared in life because he dropped out of college. The main meaning of this speech that Bill Gates wanted you to learn is that without school you won't succeed in life. Before I read this speech, I picked Bill Gates because I needed to finish the time capsule project. But now because I read this speech, it motivates me to finish my education. I've been waiting more than 30 years to say this. Dad always told you to come back and get my degree. I lived up in Radcliffe in the Courier House. Radcliffe was a great place to live. This is where I learned the sad lesson that improving your odds doesn't guarantee success. One of my biggest memories in Harvard came in January 1975 when I made a call to a company in Albuquerque who began making one of the first personal computers. I offered to sell them software. I worried that they would realize I was just a student in the dorm and hang up, but they said, we're not quite ready, call us in a month. Which was a good thing because I hadn't made the software yet. From that point on, I worked day and night to finish this little extra credit project that marked the end of my college education and the beginning of a remarkable journey with Microsoft. What I remember above all about Harvard was being in the midst of so much energy and intelligence. It could be exhilarating, intimidating, discouraging, but always challenging. It was an amazing privilege until I left early. I was transformed by my many years at Harvard. I have one big regret, but taking a serious look back, I do have one big regret. I left Harvard with no real awareness of the awful inequities in the world. I learned a lot here at Harvard about new ideas in economics and politics. I got great exposure to advances being made in sciences, but humanity's greatest advances are not in its discoveries, but in how those discoveries are applied to reduce inequity, whether through strong public education, quality health care, or broad economic opportunity. Reducing inequity is the highest human achievement.
In life, we need a push to get out. Ray Lewis was an NFL linebacker and was widely regarded as one of the best linebackers ever, and was a very strong motivational speaker. This is a motivational speech, but it is really a speech on giving everything you got every time you step on the playing field. This speech was delivered to the Sanford men's basketball team during the 2012 NIT semifinal game for the versus Massachusetts. I can't thank you guys enough for the opportunity. Let me tell you something. If tomorrow isn't promised, what would you give for today? Forget everything else. Forget everything else. Forget that there was any sunlight left. What would you spend today thinking about? Yourself or the man beside you? Or the man you know you give everything in your heart for? We get one opportunity in life, one chance at life to do whatever you're going to do, to lay your foundation and to make whatever mark you're going to make, whatever legacy you're going to leave your legacy, and it's found through effort. Wins and losses come down a dozen, but effort, nobody can judge effort. That's because effort is between you and you. Effort doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. So the team that think they've seen you, they think what they've seen on film, they haven't seen what film shows. Because every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. And I gotta go out and show them that I'm a different creature now than I was 5 minutes ago. Because I'm ticked off for greatness. If you're not ticked off for greatness, that means you're okay with being mediocre. There isn't a man in here okay with being just basic. So let's do what we do tonight. We don't have to worry about taking any bad breaks or close calls. Let's do it.
On September 11, 2001, the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history took place as 4 passenger jets were hijacked and crashed, killing more than 3,000 people. On Thursday, September 20th, President George Walker Bush delivered this much-anticipated speech before a joint session of Congress. He addresses how strong our nation stands and how we will stay strong and how no one will forget this day. In its many ways, it also brings citizens of the United States closer together through tough times we all have in our lives. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist attacks. The victims were in airplanes or on offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms, dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, huge structures collapsing, fires burning have photos of disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation to chaos and retreat, but they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people have been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundation of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. America was targeted for our attack because we are the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining. Tonight, I ask for your prayer for all those who grieve, for all the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray that we will be comforted by a greater power than any of us spoken today, and the words in Psalms of 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend what is just and right in our world. Thank you, good night, and God bless America.
Many years ago, women did not have as many rights as they do now. But because of many influential women, that has changed. This speech is by one of those women. Her name is Hillary Clinton, and her speech is called Women's Rights are Human Rights. It is about equality, for women to be equal to men. We must move beyond the belief that man is better than woman. This speech gave women the confidence that they are equal to men and that life wouldn't be the same without them. I selected this speech because I believe it was very inspirational to women everywhere, and it gives women the voice they were missing. The great challenge of this conference is to give voice to women everywhere, whose experiences go unnoticed, whose words go unheard. Those of us who have the opportunity to be here have the responsibility to speak for those who cannot. We need to understand there is no one formula for how women should lead our lives. That is why we must respect the choices that each woman makes for herself and her family. Every woman deserves the chance to realize her own God-given potential. But we must recognize that women will never gain full dignity until their human rights are respected and protected. If there is one message that echoes forth from this conference, let it be that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights, once and for all. Let us not forget that among those rights are the right to speak freely and the right to be heard. Now it is time to act on behalf of women everywhere. If we take bold steps to better the lives of women, we will be taking bold steps to better the lives of children and families too. Families rely on mothers and wives for emotional support and care. Families rely on women for labor needed in the home, and increasingly everywhere, families rely on women for income needed to raise healthy children and care for other relatives. Let this conference be our and the world's call to action. Let us heed that call so we can create a world in which every woman is treated with respect and dignity. Every boy and girl is loved for and cared for equally, and every family has the hope of a strong and stable future. That is the work before you. That is the work before all of us who have a vision of the world we hope to see, for our children and our grandchildren. The time is now. We must move beyond rhetoric. We must move beyond recognition of problems to working together, to have the common efforts to build that common ground we hope to see.
Mistakes are a way of saying, yeah, I know I'm not perfect, and I'm not a super genius. But if you did make mistakes, what would that say? It'd say, I don't want to go out there and fail, so I'll just stay here instead. The speech I'm about to give by Ellen DeGeneres says that no matter what, you will fail and you will succeed. But don't be afraid to make mistakes, because without mistakes, how will you learn? So unless you're Mr. Stroud, who makes no mistakes at all, make sure you pay attention, because you might just learn something new. When I was asked to make the commencement speech, I immediately said yes. Then I went to look at what commencement meant, which would be easy if I had a dictionary, so I had to break down the words myself to find enough meaning. Commencement, common and cement. Common cement. You commonly see cement on sidewalks. Sidewalks have cracks. If you step on a crack, you break a nose back. So there's that. But I'm honored that you've asked me here to speak at the common cement. I thought you had to be a famous alumnus, alumni, alumnum. You had to graduate from this school. I didn't go to college here. I didn't go to college at all. Any college. And I'm not saying that you waste your time and money, but look at me. I'm a huge celebrity. I'm here because of you. Because I can't think of a more tenacious, more courageous graduating class. I mean, look at you all, wearing your robes. Usually when you're wearing a robe at 10 in the morning, it means you've given up. When I finished school, I was completely lost. And by school, I mean real school. And I really had no ambition. I didn't know what I was going to do. I did everything. I thought I'd finally just settle down in some job. My point is that by the time I was your age, I really thought I knew who I was, but I had no idea. Anyone writing this stuff down? Anyway, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Really, when I look back on it, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, it was so important for me to lose everything, because I found out what the most important thing is, to be true to yourself. Ultimately, that's what's got me to this place. I don't live in fear. I'm free. I have no secrets. And I know I'll always be okay, because no matter what, I know who I am. So in conclusion, when I was younger, I thought success was something different. And as you grow, you'll realize the definition of success changes. For me, the most important thing is to live your life with integrity, to be true to yourself, to be an honest and compassionate person, to contribute in some way. So, to conclude my conclusion, stay true to yourself, follow your passion, don't follow anyone else's path. Unless you're in the woods and you're lost and you see a path, by all means, you should follow that. Don't give advice. It'll come back and bite you in the butt. Don't take anyone's advice. So, my advice to you is be true to yourself and everyone will be fine. And I know that a lot of you are concerned about your future, but there's no need to worry. So, to conclude my conclusion that I previously concluded in my comments and med speech, I say to the class of 2009, congratulations. If you don't remember anything I said today, remember this. You're going to be okay. Dum-dee-dum-dum, just dance.
The speech I'm about to give is called Put the Glass Down. This speech focuses on moving forward from your problems and the importance of letting things go. I chose this speech because it gives a good message about how to live your life without the stress of past problems. Once a professor began his class by holding up a glass with some water in it. He held it up for all to see and asked the students, "How much do you think this glass weighs?" 50 grams, 100 grams, 125 grams, the students answered. "I really don't know unless I weigh it," the professor said. "Now my question is, what would happen if I held it up like this for a few minutes?" "Nothing," the student said. "Okay, now what would happen if I held it up like this for an hour?" the professor asked. "Your arm would begin to ache," said one of the students. "You're right, but what would happen if I held it up like this for a day?" the professor replied. "Your arm could go numb. You might have severe muscle stress and paralysis, and you would have to go to the hospital for sure," ventured another student. All the students laughed. "Very good. But during all this, did the weight of the glass change?" asked the professor. "No," was the reply of all the students. "Then what caused the arm to ache or the muscle to stress?" After a pause, the professor asked. "Before my arm starts to ache, what should I do?" The students were puzzled. "Put the glass down," said one of the students. "Exactly," said the professor. "Life's problems are exactly like this. Hold it in your head for a few minutes, they seem okay. Think of them for a long time, they begin to ache. Hold it even longer, they begin to paralyze you. You will not be able to do anything. It's important to think of the challenges or problems in your life, but even more important to put them down at the end of every day."
Now this speech is about death and how cruel life can be. No, it's about life and how to live your life the best way possible. This is what Randy Koch was explaining to his students at the end of the school year. He has been dealing with cancer and has found out there's no way out of his fate. He only has a couple more months to live, and he needs to explain this to his students so they can have the best life lived. Now this is exactly what I hope you get out of this speech. Live life the best way possible, and don't worry about little mistakes, but small moments. Now today's speech is about living, but it's especially about childhood dreams and how you can achieve them. I had an incredibly happy childhood, and I was always dreaming. So what are some of your childhood dreams? Why didn't I achieve some of mine? And that's very important to know, because you can achieve a lot by trying. There's an expression I love. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. For example, I graduated from college and I wanted to work for Disney. So I tried, but I got a lovely rejection letter. I kept trying and kept trying, but I kept all these rejection letters. But then, the best thing happened to me. I worked hard, and I became a junior faculty member. Now this took me over 15 years to do, but I did learn one thing. Brick walls are there for a reason. They're not there to keep us out. They're there to show us how bad we want it. To achieve your dreams, parents are also very important. My parents taught me early on to choose whether you're a Tigger or an Eeyore. Tiggers are optimistic, enthusiastic, curious, and they have fun. Never underestimate the importance of just having fun. Also, to achieve your dreams, you better live life with integrity. Simple advice that you might find hard to follow. Just tell the truth. Second thing, when you mess up, apologize. An apology has 3 steps. I'm sorry, it's my fault, and how can I make it better? Most people skip that third part. That's how you can tell true sincerity. And lastly, I don't think complaining will solve your problems. So instead of complaining and wanting what you didn't get, spend your time playing the game hard. Now, you may think this speech is only about achieving your dreams, but no, you're wrong. It's much broader than that. It's about living your life the best way possible. Because if you lead your life down the right path, the karma will take care of itself, and the dreams will come to you.
Good morning. Would you please stand and join me in the singing of the first verse of hymn 400?